Aaron, welcome to 2026 and the Octopodcast. Thank you for joining. How are you?
Woo! I'm good. Happy New Year, Tony.
Yeah. How was your New Year?
My New Year was fine. I spent time redecorating, as you can see.
Yes. I love it. I recognize many, but not all of your cephalopod tchotchkes. A nice mug. Nice mug. I think we've seen that on the podcast before. Very nice. I'm trying to think. I wonder if I got any octopus gifts. Now, somebody who gave me an octopus gift is going to be insulted. Uh, but but let's face it, they're probably not watching
I don't think I got any octopus gifts for Christmas this year. In fact, someone specifically said, I usually get you an octopus gift and you must be tired of it, so I didn't get you one
this year. And I was like, how dare you?
I did get this marine. I just leave it on my desk. I did get this marine related. It's arguably, but this isn't just. This is. I don't have a coin, but you put a coin on here. Check it out. So that was pretty good.
That's pretty cool.
I was very pleased opening that up. But this is not about Godzilla. This is about cephalopods, this show. So we were just chatting a moment ago as we were warming up our cameras and whatnot that we often cover the news here, the cephalopod related news, but we also we want to and we will definitely be covering things beyond just cephalopod news. And I know I have some pet conversations I want to have with you. I know we started one on AI, and we owe a follow-up to that. We also talked about the fact that this year is the year of the giant squid in our last episode. We said last year was the year of the colossal squid. And I know we have a story that talks about what 2025 was the year of, according to media, and we'll cover that. But for us,
completely different reasoning.
Yeah, for us, we held it. I said we're going to hold ourselves accountable, or I'm going to hold myself accountable because we talked about the fact that there's a lot of giant squid sightings in the month of January, particularly off of Japan related to Godzilla, tangentially. We'll give ourselves till February to cover that particular angle of squid sightings.
We gotta wait for that all to come in, and I mean it's already started, as we've seen on the TONMO forums. The giant squid sighting forum is already getting active.
You're right about that. It's true. Yes, we have a great TONMO member. Username is Archie Fan or Archie Fan. I don't know how we want to pronounce that, but he's a fan of Architeuthis, they are a fan of Architeuthis, and they've been posting some great additions to this epic thread that we have that's been going on for many, many years called something like Living Architeuthis, or I'll provide a link below. But yes, to your point, it started. That's true. We do have a few that we'll be able to talk about, and hopefully ArchiFan will give us a few more that we can work with. But Aaron, you were thinking about this show overall and thinking about engaging our audience to solicit feedback on. Why don't you go ahead? What are your thoughts about this podcast?
Well, we've kind of often talked about moving away from the news and talking about more cultural cephalopod references. And so I thought it would be really fun if we started, looking at the appearance of squid and octopus in movies and TV. So, TONMO podcast
audience members, if you have a movie or a TV show that you think Tony and I should watch and chat about and give our honest feedback on how well this particular cephalopod was represented, let us know in the comments, and Tony, we might have some movie nights coming up.
Yeah, sounds good. That would be fun. We could do a watch along. But yes, not moving away from the news though, but in addition to, because we have to, the cephalopod news never stops. But to your point, we want to layer in some other angles, and the news does inherently bring with it some because again, we classified news. It includes culture and art. I don't know if we have any of those stories. I know we were chatting about what story we typically, here's some inside baseball for our viewing audience. We will DM on TONMO about, hey, you still good for Monday to have this conversation about news, and we share a couple of headlines. And Aaron, I just this morning, because I was watching the Eagles lose their postseason hopes were dashed last evening, and so I spent a lot of this weekend watching all the games, but last evening was the Eagles showing, and so I hadn't really looked at any of the headlines. That's on me until this morning, but I did take a look at a couple that you had floated. I like them. I'm going to let you just kind of drive and introduce them in the order you like. But aligned with your selections, and it sounds like it might even have a couple more. So why don't we get into it? What's the first story?
Well, I think you've already kind of mentioned it, that this was going to be Year of the Giant Squid. But according to the news, our first article is that 2025 was the year of the octopus. Not the year of the colossal squid, as we had previously mentioned. Apparently, it's the year of the octopus. But for a very different reason. It was not taxonomy related at all. It was because of warmer weather conditions in the Atlantic. In the Atlantic was causing blooms of octopus. They saw a blast of increase in the octopus population, and so this 2025 was apparently the year of the octopus due to just some really good weather conditions.
Yeah, biggest bloom in numbers for 75 years. And yeah, so I definitely came across a number of stories throughout the year. Started over the summer, probably, maybe early summer or late spring, where news, high profile news organizations, relatively speaking, like The Guardian or probably BBC for sure, were releasing news stories about just like huge numbers of octopuses off the coastal waters. And does the article get into why? Like what is the? I guess they talk about warm conditions.
Yeah, they said it was because 2025 had a fairly mild winter. And because of this, there was just kind of a population explosion. And that could have been because that their prey did better over the winter. And so there was more food for the octopuses to eat. Or it was just that more hatchlings came about and survived through the milder winter and the warmer spring and summer. And they just did really well this year.
Yeah. And so yeah, right. And very, very quickly, I guess to itemize a couple of the impacts that had was, number one, I guess kind of obviously, it meant an increase in the number of cephalopod catch for food. So there was definitely an increase. And we do see, it certainly notice that, and the one thing that I don't get too into on TONMO is recipes or food. I do, we cover fishing and fisheries because it's very impactful to the lives of cephalopods. At the end of that whole industry, of course, are people eating cephalopods. And so I don't really get into the delicacies there. And I stopped eating them in 2005 or so. But I appreciate that they're delicious because I've had them in my life and I get it. It's just not for me anymore. But I've noticed an increase. Again, I don't post them. I usually will just delete them from what Octobot brings to me. Like, hey, here's some news. And if it relates to a bar has added a new menu, and people, there's a lot more of it for sure. I don't know the data, although, what's a cool resource is Google Trends. And I'm just going to do octopus dishes. And
I wonder how much of that is related to AI, though, Tony, because I know my Facebook feed comes up with these new crazy AI recipes every day. And then you look at the ingredients and you look at the instructions and you're like, this makes no sense. This is just going to be horrible once it's actually made.
yeah, fair enough. I will share a chart from Google on the interest over time in octopus dishes for what it's worth. But in what you'll notice is just like if you were to draw a trend line on this graph, which I'm not going to bother doing, but you can just see it with your mind's eye. There's a graph that just has all the interest over time going back to 2004 to today, and you just see there's a slight tick up. But whether that's AI or, well, certainly much of that tick up is not AI, but there is just an increase in information. I know that is posted to the internet over all these years, so maybe it's just related to that. And overall volumes are actually quite low. I'll share it for posterity. But to your point, so that's the one is increase in in octopus catches. That's one of the impacts. The other is these octopuses, in a lot of the news stories that I've seen over the year, is that they are raiding like lobster cages that are used to capture lobsters, crabs, and just other fish that typically are not impacted by this. But now with all these octopuses off the waters of Britain and whatnot, and in Europe, in the Atlantic Ocean, they're changing the composition of what's being hauled back.
Well, and that kind of ties in with another headline, or a couple of headlines that popped up in the past kind of couple of days. You don't have this one. This is a surprise one for you, Tony. It was there's been a bunch of things about the super fleets of squid fisheries that have just kind of gathered off the coast of Argentina in the South Atlantic. And Octobot has been picking up on all of these stories. So I've got one from The Guardian, and it's a supersized fleet of vessels from China and Korea and Taiwan and other Pacific destinations who have come around the coast of South America and are in kind of an unmonitored area of the ocean, which is now named because so many vessels go there. I'm just trying to remember what it's called, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But they've got a great picture here. There's so many boats that you can actually see this fishing fleet from space. It's just so many boats. The area is called Mile 201. And yeah, it's just this area off the southern tip of South America. And the vessels, like the pictures of the vessels here, they're just huge. They're taking out so much of the squid population. And this squid is being shipped all over the world. So if you're looking for calamari recipes, it could be squid from this area.
Yeah, I imagine they call it, I guess it's Mile 201 because I guess maybe there's 200 miles of protected waters where they're not. So the 1 mile beyond that is where there's just, it's so interesting how these regulations kind of block out certain areas and prevent fishing for all the right reasons. Maybe there are reefs, or there's just areas that need to be protected in terms of population. But of course, the animals themselves and the ecology of it that they live in, they don't. None of it cares about protected areas. So populations shift, pretty substantially in a very interesting ways. So I love this first story that you brought us, Aaron, because it kind of reveals that it allows us to kind of reflect on, right? You really can't fully predict where certain species or where populations are going to be, larger or smaller based on kind of really much data at all, because I think a lot of it still remains a mystery to us. We always seem to be surprised by these kinds of shifts. So I presume that we really just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about the ocean that we don't know, and we never really know how, as we talked about in the last story, weather patterns might affect population size. Just like overfishing is going to affect population size, but do they cancel each other out? It's a complex situation, and I'm glad that I don't work in the fisheries, because that seems like a lot of headache.
Completely, totally. One of our TONMO conferences had at least one of them, but I remember at the Marine Biological Labs in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was part of the fisheries up there in New England, and it was just so interesting. And it was a very different angle. So love those two stories. To your point, I don't know if we have any more fishery stories today, but let's see what's next on your list.
Well, we're moving away from fisheries. We're moving into fossils, because we don't often get fossils in the news. So this appeared on IFL Science, and as we know from the last podcast, I have a love-hate relationship with that website, because sometimes they bring really relevant stories, and sometimes they bring clickbait. And so this was about the survival of the Ammonites and how they went extinct. And so I kind of thought it was going to be clickbaity, but because it was about Ammonites, I was like, let's see what it is like. But it was actually based on a paper that was published in December. So, there's been some recent research done in the Danish fossil layers, because that is apparently a be-all and end-all of sediment deposition. I'm kind of looking at the actual article itself, and it's using a lot of words that I don't understand, so I'm going to simplify it to a summary of what I'm taking away from this. So there's a bit of debate apparently within the paleological community if the Ammonites survived the kind of meteor hit that took out the dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period, or if they kind of survived but were on their last legs and were just dying out, or if something else entirely created the extinction of the Ammonites. And so this research has found that there are actually kind of new Ammonite species that were still appearing after the Cretaceous period ended, so after that meteor hit. And so it is believed that they survived into the next, geological period. And of course, they conclude with, we don't know why they went extinct.
Exactly. Yes, I saw that. And so yeah, it's like, yeah, so there are really no mysteries solved other than they did not go extinct when we thought they did, when they thought they would have, because of the impact. They actually survived for a lot longer. And there was a belief that ocean acidity would have killed them all off, but it didn't. And in fact, acidity returned to normal, or I guess in terms of like the shell record, the sediment. But yeah, they have not been able to draw the lines together about why or how they survived. There's a lot of interesting, let's call it speculation, for want of a better word, about polar shifts. So there are some interesting voices in the paleontology world where I'm going to get the name wrong. Is it Robert Hancock or something? But some of these folks have studied and been like, hey, human beings have actually lived a lot longer than we've been told. Like there's a history that goes like way, way deeper. And if you watch like Joe Rogan podcasts, you get kind of go down various rabbit holes and and there's plenty of controversy with it within the scientific community. There's a lot of kind of infighting about, because these are all scientists, but they're just scientists with like vastly different perspectives and points of view about our history and what we've kind of like accepted as truth for decades and decades. And so there's some kind of, for want of a better word, rogue scientists are coming out saying, no, actually, we've been here for a lot longer, and there have been complete societal destruction because of polar shifts that cause massive tidal waves and just completely wiping out all life. In that context, this paper is kind of really interesting because it suggests that Ammonites, of course, being in our oceans, but nonetheless, you would think that if the sun was blocked out for however long, that eventually our oceans would suffer tremendously along with all life in it.
Well, we've already talked about how a mild winter affected octopus populations, so I'm sure that those rules applied hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Millions, in fact. For 340 million years, it says in the article, Ammonites were a major presence in the ocean, and then they were gone. The major problem with this article, of course, is that there's no conclusion, and
there's not. As you said, they provide the journal article itself provides some speculation that maybe they were outcompeted by something that had evolved, after the dinosaurs went extinct. Maybe sea levels changed so dramatically that their habitat kind of disappeared, and so that's why they went extinct. My question, as we've kind of already talked about movies, why has Jurassic Park not introduced Ammonites? I mean, this is the big question that people want answered. Come on, Jurassic World.
Yeah, where are they? So I kind of checked out, I think, after the second one.
No, that's absolutely fair.
But yeah, I remember when one of the Star Wars films went underwater and had some pretty cool depictions of things. I don't remember which one. It was the reboot of the prequels. It was probably it would have been episode 2.
I think it was episode 1. I think episode 1 went underwater for a bit.
Did it? I thought maybe it was episode 1. The what is it? Return of the Sith. This is hard for me to remember these things, but because again, I don't even think I watched all the Star Wars except I think Rogue One, or maybe I watched that one. Whatever the last one was, I bailed on that too. But anyhow, you're right. Jurassic Park should absolutely do a marine version if they have
right. I mean, they keep inventing these islands where all of these parks were created and then went wrong. It's like, why don't you have a marine aquarium? Anyway, I'm sure that Lucasfilms or whatever will who's Jurassic Park? Spielberg? Anyway, whoever it is, I'm sure that they're going to watch this podcast, and the next one is going to be set in an aquarium.
How could they miss it?
How could they miss it?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great call out. I think that's due. And if they do one, obviously we'll dedicate an episode to it. Okay. That was a good story.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just gonna say that was a great story. And it was covered actually pretty widely because of the paper. IFL Science, I think, is the one that we're riffing off of, but there are there were quite a few articles that picked up on that paper. So we'll link to that one too. And on TONMO, of course, if you don't know, if there are multiple articles covering a particular hot story, they're all clustered by Octobot doesn't cluster them, but I do. Octobot gives me maybe 12 of the same stories, and I'll just merge them all together in a singular thread. So every thread in that news forum typically is designed to cover one particular news story, and 90% of the time it's just one post in the thread by Octobot, but Sometimes there's like with a story like this, there's maybe it gets into double digits. Okay, good one. What else you got?
Well, now is a story that probably didn't get into the double digits. It's just a nice weird one that I thought was fun. So this is a article from Ecology, the Ecological Society of America, Scientific Naturalist, and it is the discovery of a mud-covering cephalopod evidences complex life habits in the abyss. And so I saw the title and I went, okay, so it's an octopus that buries itself in the sand or in the mud. That's not that big a deal. But it's not, Tony. It's a squid. So this was looking at some ROV video footage of a squid from the family Mastigotoothidae, which are commonly known as the whiplash squid, because they have quite short arms, but then they have really long tentacles that don't have a designated tentacle club like you would see in other squid. It's like their long whip-like tentacles are covered in flypaper, and so stuff just sticks to them as they wave them through the ocean. And that's an important fact because they documented this animal burying its mantle into the sand and then just kind of waving its tentacles in the water, I guess imitating sea whips or whatever kind of other non-vertebrate or non-chordate, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not chordate.
I probably don't know it.
No, this is me going through my taxonomy of they're not plants. What are they? They would be groups of cnidarians or bryozoans or something like that. Anyway, there are non-cephalopod things in the ocean that kind of just wave around and wait for food to come by like corals will. Anyway, this mastigotoothed squid thought that this was a pretty good idea for capturing food, and so it dug itself a hole and it just chilled on the ocean floor for a bit.
Yeah, definitely at that depth. I see here 4,100 meters, do I have that right? During a seabed survey conducted at 4,100 meters in the abyssal Northeast Pacific in the Clarion-Clipperton zone in March of 2023. And this happens a lot where these ROVs will, a lot of times, I think we've talked about this before, it'll be like an oil company just doing a survey, trying to figure out where they want to lay pipe or whatever. And they'll be like, whoa, what is that? No, we got some great Magna Pinna.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Magna Pinna. Magna Pinna is notorious for that.
Yes. They'll take anyone by surprise, even because again, you have like these oil experts and, with some marine and geographical, marine bed know-how, but not knowing anything about deep sea life because they don't really care about it. They're just trying to figure out how to, expand their industry. And they'll come across, and then these crazy creatures will come floating by. Like, does anybody even know what this is? So yeah, that's an extreme depth. And to your point, there are whatever the term is that you were grasping for.
Not getting, yeah.
Yeah, well, those kind of life forms are, we all see them if we ever watch those kind of dives, right, from Smith Ocean or Ocean Explorer. It's very cool. It's very barren down there, but there'll just be a couple of those things, and so they're up there. They're buried in the mud, but they're waving their tentacles, presumably to escape prey, obviously, right? Because by appearing as if they're just like some, uninteresting coral, possibly poisonous or whatever, you're not going to get like a ratfish or something come by and try to eat you. Versus, so presumably they're there to just feed safely, bury themselves in mud, stick their tentacles out. Interesting.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Isn't that way? We're kind of all going through life that way, aren't we? Covered in mud.
This is the most relatable squid we've come across.
That is a great observation. That is kind of novel and new. So yes, I did notice that story come through, and that did get picked up. I think I first saw it on X or maybe Blue Sky or something. Somebody had posted that. Cool. What else?
We
need to take Heather Braid in the comments because she is a Master Toothus fan, so she will definitely appreciate that. If she has not already read it.
Shout out to Heather Braid from the Alsus crew.
Hi, Heather.
Cool. What else we got?
Well, the last one that I thought that we absolutely needed to talk about is not really kind of news related in any way, shape, or form, but it's just cute. So there was a little comic that was published online from Octopus Energy in the UK. And at Christmas, a little girl sent them a comic that she had done where Santa, instead of delivering presents, was delivering heat pumps to all the houses in the UK. And he asked this little girl to help. And so she became, by eating a piece of cake, she became her superhero alter ego, Octo-Girl. And Octo-Girl helped deliver Octopus Energy heat pumps to all of the houses in the UK.
Yeah, let me try this. I've never done this before in our podcast. Just doing it real time, so we can see it, and I can share it with my audience at the same time. And maybe I'll do an overlay if this doesn't work out well visually. But yes, this is what was sent to the what was sent to the crew.
Yeah, to the energy company. And they just loved it so much that they published it on their website. And I hope that it got everyone into the Christmas spirit. And I'm sure that a few families did get octopus heat pumps for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a remarkable cartoon. And Santa comes along and gifts Octo-Girl with a renewable power. What is that? A renewable
power for her house. So it looks like they've got some solar paneling on their house now.
Oh yeah, as we see in the final panel. Yeah, in a wind. What do you call it? The wind generator source. Yes, I'll share the highly detailed graphics. But the CEO has that art at his desk at work, prominently displayed, completely understandably. Octobot.
I love it.
Well done, Catalina, on an amazing comic. We love it here at TONMO too.
Completely. So in the United States, people probably haven't heard of Octopus Energy, but I'm fairly confident that people in Europe and I think in Asian countries as well, Octopus Energy is huge and I know this only because Octobot I'm constantly deleting because there are just a bunch of news articles like, Octopus Energy released their earnings report, or whatever they're talking about. It's just a name, but they also have a product within their business called Kraken.
Okay.
So, and if you, and I'll share the picture. The CEO's desk in his work area overall there's plenty of cephalopod related references. So I don't know, maybe if I find it, I'll insert the inspiration for the name of Octopus Energy, because again, they're very prolific in terms of their press releases and or being covered in the news. It reminds me also of I guess it's in Japan. There's the octopus card. Are you familiar with the octopus card? It's like how you ride the subway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, not something that in the United States we've ever heard of, but there's a lot of cephalopod related products. I think United States needs to catch up a bit. We have Kraken rum. I think that's distilled here in the United States.
I mean,
I've got Kraken rum in my kitchen.
Oh,
I mean, you gotta. It's good stuff.
yeah, well, forget the Baileys. It's Kraken
Oh,
in
yeah.
coffee. Kraken
Oh,
in
right.
your coffee. All right, good stuff. Aaron, is that the news that's fit to
Yeah,
ink?
I mean, I think that's all the news.
The only other headline that I think it would be nice to finish with, tie in to another YouTube video, was this popped up: Nature's Antique Collector, the Coconut Octopuses, and it's just a little clip from I think Australian Geographic. Their show Extraordinary Animals. They did a little segment on cephalopods, or on the coconut octopus, and it's some really beautiful footage. So hopefully maybe you'll be able to put a little clip in here, or at least have it on a watch list so that people get to go watch it next, because it's some really great footage from Australian Geographic.
Great. Cool. Well, that's a good one to end it on. Yeah. Well, I'll share that with the audience. And how are we doing on time? Good. This is like fairly typical for us, Aaron. We cover a few stories, and we fill it with a lot of banter. Good stuff. Great catching up with you again this month. As Aaron said at the top of this, if you have any cephalopod related topics you'd like Aaron and I to cover in a future Octopodcast, just comment below, or visit us on TONMO. Aaron's username is GPO87. I am TONMO, lowercase. The brand is capital because it's an acronym, the Octopus News Magazine Online, but the username is lowercase. Not that it matters. You just DM me at TONMO or Aaron at GPO87, or just comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe. What else you're supposed to do? Hit the notification bell, and we'll see you again next time we do our next podcast.
We will. Let's get excited for 2026. We're going to have some good podcasts, Tony.
Right on. Thanks, Aaron. Talk to you soon. Let's chat it out. Let's see how it goes. Just chatting it out with the audience.
Okay.
You just get my.
It was just in the back of my head, so I thought I would mention it beforehand so that I didn't just wing it on you without anything.
Yeah, well, if anything's like super, unpleasant or awkward between you and I, I can always edit it out.
Yes, those super tense, awkward moments we always have.